don't want to become national. That's not our aim.
What are we totally rubbish at? Today I'm speaking to Mike, who's the managing director of Savona Foodservice, one of the biggest food distribution services in central and southern England. Mike's had a lot of experience in the industry, led several companies and organizations, and I'm proud to also call him a customer. Let's start. Mike, tell me a little bit about yourself, if you could. Tell me a little bit about the journey, the personal journey.
Yeah, okay. So I'm one of two children, born in Glasgow. So I'm actually Scottish by birth,
Oh.
believe it or not, but spent most of my life growing up in the north, so around Manchester and then South Yorkshire. Um, did I ever think I'd end up in food service? Absolutely not. I remember having a student job working on a farm, vowing I'd never work in a warehouse because I much prefer being outside, and then spent the rest of my life working in warehouses.
Yeah.
I'm married with two children who are now, well, one's 19, one's 16, live in Northamptonshire. And I guess now we're currently at a time of our life where we're starting to travel more because it's becoming just the two of us rather than all four of us. So
Yeah.
that's a bit about me. But yeah, no, food wholesaling was not my career of choice.
So after the farm, you went straight into it? Was that sort of, you just started your
No,
journey?
it was a student. That was student work, and then graduated with a degree in accountancy, having realised I didn't want to be an accountant.
Hmm.
Partway through that, took first job actually working in construction for a company called Tarmac, and then as a sales rep, and realised I didn't want to do that either, and then fell into food service with a company called Watson and Phillip, or W&P Food Service, who were around about 25, 30 years ago, who Brakes ended up buying. So
Right.
they became the grocery division of Brakes, and by acquisition, I then worked for Brakes for a while.
So I mean, you've worked for a bunch of really large sort of broadliner
Yep.
logistics. 3663 brakes. Um, has this how's this experience sort of shaped how how you think about, for example, running Savona? How's it influenced you?
I guess it's given me the opportunity to pick out the best of what they do, particularly in terms of systems and processes and automation and being quite slick and the power of that. During the last 15 or 20 years, I've also then worked out what we don't want to do and how we want to differentiate ourselves. So retaining flexibility, being able to act quickly, not being of such a size that we're very hierarchical. We're not. We've got very flat structure. So that means everybody can get hold of everybody else in our business to make decisions quickly. So I think the best of having picked the best out of the big boys that I've worked for is about process systems, rigor, um, but using that where it's relevant, but not losing our personal touch, family owned, flexible, communicative approach to doing business with our customers.
Because I mean, from my knowledge of how you work, I would say you're almost the exact opposite of how Brakes and 3663 work, in that you are very flat, you are not very hierarchical, you do make decisions very quickly. They are very heavy organizations.
Yes.
So I was sort of like, how did you, you started obviously at Savona. Tell me a little bit about the journey into Savona, maybe, and then we can sort of just dig a bit deeper there.
Okay. Well, so I've been with Savona for just coming up for 8 years, joined running the operation of the Oxford site. During the last 8 years, we've acquired three businesses, so two of which were other country range members, one wasn't. Um, and I guess going back to your previous point, that yes, we are very different to the big boys, but what we have got that you don't see is the best in class processes that sit behind what we do. So we've got the best of that, but
Yeah.
presented through a team who have got autonomy and authority and power and can do what they want within reason. But yeah, I joined Savona. The owner of our business used to be the managing director of Watson and Phillip that I mentioned a moment ago. Purely coincidental, because I knew I wanted to have more influence in a smaller organisation that had opportunity to grow. And for me, personally, variety and breadth of responsibility is more important than depth of responsibility.
How do you make it filter all the way down to the to everybody in the organizations? You, like you said, you are very approachable. You sort of run a big company. It's not as big as Brakes, but it's a
Yeah,
big company, and somehow you manage to stay. quite forward thinking, I have to say. The bigger companies are just super slow to understand. They have to be dragged into this 21st century, kicking and screaming. You actually, came up with some ideas even for us to build, building product. You don't sit all day and think about tech, and that I would expect that from sole traders or smaller suppliers, not somebody who leads a large organization like you. How do you I'm struggling. How do you go from breaks to actually thinking you can change things quickly?
Um, I guess because when you work for a lot, there's lots of benefits working for a larger organisation, but one of the disadvantages is the pace of change is very slow because it's so difficult to implement those changes. And we're all driven by making life much easier for the customer. And a lot of it sits around use of, I mean, now it's moving into data and big data and AI, but about process automation. And we're able, because I guess my role is dual as well as being the MD. I also champion business systems within our role. We don't have a head of IT. Um, that I'm able to drive that through quicker. But I've got a group of directors and the rest of the senior leadership team who are all well informed, engaged, um, and we make sure we listen to the voices of the customer facing people that we've got, our sales force, who want process automation, making life easy to do business with. And we've still got some paper based processes, and in due course they'll disappear. Um, we just got to pick off which ones are important. But it's just most of it, if I'm being honest, is probably maybe not the solution, but the problem we're trying to solve is right in front of us. But it's, I guess, we've got sufficient scale where we can do things, but we're small enough where we don't need a committee to make a decision, which means we can get on with it and just go and talk to people.
I guess that's probably why this is, the Savona and Mike fit works, because you're exactly at the. I guess you were at these bigger organization where everybody has great ideas but nothing moves because it's too slow, and
Yeah,
here you're just able to implement the stuff that they all want to do but they can't.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I fully see that. Do you think that your customers see all of this? How do they feel all of this automation? You bring in automation back of house, like it's not always customer facing. Do they feel it?
Um, I think they do, but they probably don't realise it. Because it becomes the norm, like anything, when you innovate for a period, it's slightly different or distinctive or differentiates you, and then it just becomes the norm. 6 to 12 months later. So
Yeah,
yeah, I think they will in the coming months, particularly in terms of some of the technology things we've got planned, how we will market ourselves, the proposition. I think that will become more customer facing and more obvious. But I think some of the other stuff has been more subtle and behind the scenes to make life easier.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, short answer to your question is probably not that much, but they probably would notice if it was suddenly removed, all the things
Yeah.
we've done.
Well, I mean, I would imagine, more accurate information, less mistakes, more on
Yep.
time, that sort of thing. I mean, maybe you don't see it on the day, but over time, you're like, I'm just very happy with.
Exactly, and it all boils down to being, I guess, food service that just works.
Yeah.
Because what most of our customers don't want is a headache. We're there to take the headaches away. So if we can be reliable, dependable, honest, they get exactly what they want when they want it, and it's just something else they don't have to think about, and that's where we add the value.
Yeah, I asked a couple of your customers what they think about you, and the two words that keep coming up is nimble and flexible. And I
Correct.
think interesting why sort of they say that. They just sort of you just, I guess, listen to them and you
Yeah,
act on what they do, and it just doesn't. With some others, maybe it doesn't. So I think any
yeah,
that's
yeah.
great. Great testimonial there. Tell me a little bit about the De Bono sort of acquisition. I guess it was last year. We obviously, when we started REKKI, De Bono was, prominent name
Yep.
in and around the London scene, and then you guys sort of came last year. Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's an opportunity that presented itself with Gareth, the owner of De Bono, and we've all been through significant challenges through COVID. So, no, so challenging times for all of us. And there was just an opportunity to consolidate. It was one of those fortuitous, well-timed conversations that ended up materialising in a deal. So for us, it enabled us to grow in London into a slightly higher level of customer base, so more gastropub upwards rather than sort of our specialism is mid tier. Um, it will in coming months. It's taken us a while, but then impact on the range we stock. which is already starting to evolve to become slightly finer. I mean, we're not positioning ourselves to a Michelin-starred restaurant level. That's not our target market. But what we did do was keep a solid customer base. Most of the team, I think sort of 3 or 4 out of the 5 drivers are still with us. It was quite a small team anyway, but most of the guys in the core part of the operation we've retained. So the customers have seen the same drivers that they saw with Debona as they did with Savona. But what we've been able to do is then put the right systems in. We've just had the vehicle fleet has just been replaced. So the Debona vehicles have been replaced with Savona. The brand, the reliability of service, the range with Debona has gone from about 700 items to nearly 4,000 just by switching things over. So yes, there's been some changes, and yes, we got a few things wrong that we've had to then reverse and correct. But really, it was just a win-win for us, for Debona, and for the customer. They get more from the same people, easier, with the benefits of your system, our own online system. We track orders live.
Yeah.
Our systems and processes really, as I mentioned earlier, back up and support the service provision, and that just was switched on overnight.
You're
So
confident that you can continue to to grow and continue to retain that that DNA that you've
yeah,
instilled in this
absolutely.
company. Yeah.
Yeah, it's critical. So we have no desire. We have desires to grow, but we have no desire to grow for its own sake. We
Mhm.
want to grow profitably and behave in a way that we've always behaved with a group of customers, um, that we can service properly. We don't want to become national. That's not our aim. We
Yeah.
want to be we want to be dominant and excel across the sort of middle south of England.
You said that you moved from about 700 products to about 4,000. Is that quite, is that a big thing for Savona, the sort of, expanding the range according to customer requirements or desires and sort of able to offer a wide range? Do you grow your product range quite often, and how do you do that?
Yeah, and actually something we're just in the process of refining, being more responsive and looking for new ideas and bringing more innovation to our customers, because they rely on us to put these ideas in front of them. The 4,000 products I alluded to earlier was the existing Savona range, so we could just switch that on overnight because we have a hub in Oxford, so we're able to offer the range without having to stock it in all of our locations.
Hmm.
Um, and yes, there is now a program that we're just about to put in place to then look at other categories of products.
Yep.
So we do offer a bit of meat and a bit of fruit and veg, but expanding that to all sites, looking at finer foods I mentioned, looking at catering equipment and other ad hoc purchases that make life just easy for the caterer and the chef to work with.
And also make the economics better,
Yeah,
right? For the customer,
exactly.
if they're buying more from you, then you're able to give them, better
Yeah, and,
prices,
and
more.
they can choose to buy or not to buy as it suits them. So there's no prerequisite they must. It's just there for when they want it.
I'd like to talk a little bit about REKKI. You sort of we got to know you more intensively last year, when you sort of came in with the whole Debono thing, because we were working with them. When did you first come? When did you first become aware of REKKI? How did you hear about us, if I can
It,
ask?
it, it was through Debono because, as you mentioned, they were early adopters with you guys, and it made sense for them because it was also a solution for them that they didn't have, which was some kind of digital platform. So it was through that acquisition process. So I guess that would have been around about, well, the acquisition was February 23, so leading up to that point.
Right.
Once we made the transition and brought two businesses together, our existing London business and Debono's, at that point we then started having a conversation, meeting you guys, coming to talk to the likes of yourself, Jamie, with what is now Wcky Connect.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a journey, but it took a little while for us to kind of understand the concept. But kind of as soon as we got it, everything clicked, and then from there, I guess the rest is history.
And if someone asked you now what is REKKI, well, how do you describe it? How would you describe it to them in a sentence?
I describe it as a single portal rather than a marketplace where customers can buy from a range of suppliers, but have the convenience of single billing. I mean, just one invoice with all the admin that goes with all these specialist suppliers, and that costs real money and takes real time, and that for that there's a saving. Whether it's in payroll costs or just being able to focus their time on running their business rather than having to administer dozens of different invoices from dozens of different suppliers. So, yeah, that's how I'd position it.
Nice. What do we currently do for you? What are the current sort of functions that we help you with at
Well,
Savona?
I guess there's three. There's most of it is REKKI Pro now, offering the central billing to customers, so we can fulfil that obligation for those customers. And that's been made easier since integrating, which went live just at the turn of the year. So we've now got our master catalogs and customer catalogs updating every night, overnight, and receiving orders electronically. We still have some legacy basic REKKI customers, but that's fine. That can just sit there and run alongside. And we're now just in the process of pulling through other non-standard format orders using Wcky Connect as the, if you like, the interpreter of orders of other platforms and other emails and other non-standard methods. And we've been running that for probably 3 or 4 weeks, and we're gradually building that up and working through it. And that again comes through the same API link from REKKI Pro. So they're the three products we're really working with.
I think pretty much the first, or it was almost your idea, the whole Wcky Connect. Tell me about that conversation you had with Jamie, our product manager. He came in. I think he pitched something else to you, or he showed you something else, and
Yeah.
then what happened there? Do you
I think
remember?
it was a talk about making use of AI and where can we add value. And the comment I made was there will always be other systems and other platforms leaving and coming into the marketplace, whether it's for stock control management, allergen management. There's a myriad of options for caterers and chefs to use. So I think the premise that anyone, whether it's your system, our system, will replace them, I think is false. But the key thing, as with a lot of modern tech solutions, is the ability to easily integrate with other systems. Now, although this isn't integration, what it allows us to do is to work with those systems without the need for all the manual input. So, actually being able to intelligently interpret orders from a format that is not predefined. um, I would suggest probably 10 to 15% of our orders come in that format. That's a lot of time and effort and a lot of opportunity for error. Um, with pack sizes are wrong and people haven't updated their system properly, so that then washes through. So we get a description of one thing and a pack size of another. Being able to try to cope with all that electronically makes life much easier, and it makes us more sticky because we can then work with those customers much more easily rather than having to manually process all these orders. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a headache, but and this is a good solution because it's not going to go away.
And I think that brings me back to the previous point, which is this is sort of in the background. The customer is unaware of it, but it shows how customer focused you are in thinking that, you know what, customers want to order however they want to order. Maybe
Yeah,
Recce is the sort of good system for them or not good system for them. You'll take anything and you'll process it with the same accuracy as a Recce order, as any other order, and you should just be not getting the wrong delivery. So I
absolutely.
think it's quite astute. I don't think there is a lot of examples where you had, again, a leader of a larger organization sort of, telling the tech people what to do and getting it spot on. So I think it's not to be underestimated, the sort of forward thinking
Yeah.
type of what you have now with Wcky Connect. Or sort of once that sort of scales and you do that with those orders, what would you say, what percentage of your orders, of your business, I guess, do we touch? That doesn't mean do we touch in any way, in one way or another, do you think, right now?
I think we'll be somewhere in the region of 10 to 15% in the near future. I would
Okay,
think. I would
nice.
say it's currently between 5 and 10%, and I would see that doubling in terms of stuff that is processed through Recce in one way or another. And then we've got some other format orders that we will then review how we deal with those later. But yeah, 10 to 15%, I would think.
Okay. Do you think it can ever be 30%? What would we need to do in order to help you with 30%, 40% of your business?
I think it could be, but I think there will always be some people that want to talk to somebody, to place an order. Although that will be diminishing. I mean, our own online platform is at about 50% of our turnover.
Right. Okay.
And the rate of transition is probably going to slow. It's been quick to get to that level in the last few years from only sort of 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I I actually could see it growing to sort of 25%, maybe to 30%
Mm-hmm.
by being capable of dealing with all these other third-party platforms.
Bit of a curveball question
Okay.
now. So, a scale of 1 to 4. Okay, 1 to 4. 1 being you don't care at all, and 4 being you'll be incredibly sad and devastated. How would you feel if you woke up tomorrow and REKKI had disappeared? 1, I don't care. 4, I'm devastated. Totally
Somewhere
honest.
between somewhere, I would say a three.
Okay,
A
nice.
three. Um,
And what would you do if we weren't around tomorrow? What would you do to
well,
replace?
I think it would give me two headaches. One is the Wcky Connect product obviously would disappear, so I've got to find another solution and sort of almost start that process all over again.
Mm-hmm.
But it's doable.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but secondly, is this is part of our route into more of a central London market, which we wish to make better use of. So we've then got to rethink how we approach that.
Got it. Thank you. What are we totally rubbish at?
What are you totally rubbish at?
Or not good enough at?
That's a good one. I That's a very good. You give us a minute to have a think, Ronan.
Yeah, yeah, of course, of course. Oh,
Um,
let me ask another question you can think about in the meantime. What do we do better than anyone?
I think your platform, the ease of use of your platform, stands out from the crowd, and the fact that um, you've also, I know we're in a slightly different situation. You've been willing to work with us because we have our own line platform. So you could argue we're in conflict, but actually we've had a grown-up conversation that the market's big enough for us to do both. It
Yeah,
isn't one or the other. Um, which is probably a conversation perhaps not had with some of the smaller wholesalers you work with because they may not have had the money to do the investment in their own system.
yeah, yeah, and run it for long enough. A lot of them have this idea. They might build something, but they don't understand that this is a sort of a marathon. You've got to run it over years and just get the adoption and
Yeah,
teach customers. And for us, really,
yeah,
if somebody wants to order directly with a supplier portal, that is probably the richest experience that you're going to get with stock and everything. And we're very, very, very happy that happens. But there's this
yeah,
mature thinking of, some people they will just order in whatever way suits them. We're customer centric, therefore we'll allow them to order however they want, and that's
yeah,
it. Yeah,
yeah.
interesting. Okay. And you say in terms of what you'd like us to do more of, then we're saying like just keep iterating on sort of Wcky Connect and making that cover more and more use cases, more and more of these painful orders that are coming in.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yep. I think also, speaking candidly, I think also generating more interest for customers we're not currently working with.
Mm-hmm.
So, we see new accounts coming through. It feels like that's slowed a little. So
Mm-hmm.
I think focus on
Yeah.
driving new customers into the platform
Yeah.
would be beneficial for both of us.
Yeah. Agreed. So what are we totally rubbish at? What are we not
That's
good
a
at?
good question. I think I was thinking about the integration work, but some of the challenge we faced were because we were the first business you integrated with that had multi-site locations with different ranges and different customers. So it was more new rather than bad, and we were all kind of it was straightforward for us, but we were navigating through uncharted waters together. I think
Yeah.
that was just a case of learning.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think one thing, but we resisted was the desire to integrate. I had to really dig my heels in and say I wasn't integrating. We basically wanted to integrate to send us orders, and we were too focused on getting orders out before we'd got the right data in. And I said, absolutely not. Until we've got the right products, the ranges, the catalogs, the pricing, I'm not taking any orders into my system electronically because actually all that does is put more manual work into our system. So I think I would suggest, I wouldn't say rubbish, but actually understanding, no, the right way to make this really work for wholesalers is don't start with the end in mind, but start at the beginning, which is
Yeah.
get the right data into REKKI, then get it out.
I remember that. It's a very long term, quite long term stable view that you have, and I think you were right to hold us to account there and say no, we need to do the integration first, get that right, and then we'll start flowing the orders in. That also gave us some time to build confidence, get to know each
Yes,
other, work together. You guys
absolutely.
came to the office, a few times, and I think people do business with people, and
People, yeah,
when you know people, it makes it much easier. So we were very comforted, to see you guys in person and speak to you and know that we're partnering. It's just we want to do it right, and that gave
great.
us the confidence also to continue
Yeah.
with that. Um, One final thing, which is, do you have any questions for me?
What are your plans for Recce for the next 2 to 3 years? What direction are you taking it, and where are you investing your time and effort?
Yeah. So, REKKI is about 70% of our revenue is, the marketplace, which is facilitating new connections and, making all of that process of finding a new supplier and buying from them, paying through them, paying through us. That's about 70% of our revenue. Another 30% is, using some of those tools that we built for the market and others to help automate inside a supplier's business. In the past with REKKI, we've sort of spread ourselves thin in some respects, gone into other territories, etc. I'm just actually really enjoying a small, nimble team that focuses on one territory with a relatively small product set and just keep making it better and better and better. You just said yourself you want REKKI Connect to do all use cases. That requires a lot of dedication. It
Yep.
looks sort of magical when it happens, but it's day by day and looking at all the bugs and the issues that customers raise and the exceptions and the special use cases, etc., and building for that and just making it better and better and better. I think we're the only ones that are doing a marketplace. I think that we are pretty much at least most advanced on the Wcky Connect scene. I want to just continue that and do what we're good at.
Yeah.
I don't have it's that is hard enough. It's keeping our customers happy. People are growing their business with us, and so just want to run a successful business, really,
Yeah.
rather than massive plans of world domination. This is a local market. This is a Londonish market, and then there's a North market, and then generally just the UK, and that's different completely to every other
Yeah.
country.
Yeah.
I just want to focus on getting it right and knocking it out of the park
Yeah.
of what we do right now. So just doing what we do, but better. In a way, I've taken the sort of the food service distributor view of it, which is just keep doing what you're doing and just do it better than others and continue focusing on
Yeah.
that. Don't spread yourself too thin. That's what I want to do with REKKI. No fireworks, just you know, day to day grind of getting everything better and better and better and provide better services to our
Yeah.
customers.
Got it.
I don't think more than
That
that,
makes sense.
actually.
Good stuff.
Thank you very much for your time. Being
Pleasure.
very generous. It was a pleasure to learn a little bit about you and Savona. And
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
yeah, pleasure. Okay. See you later, Mike.
Cool. Cheers, Ronan. Thanks a lot.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye bye.